Hey everyone, I'm Ben, the content manager here at Toolpath, and joined with me today is AJ, a Toolpath customer. We're here at his home shop, and he's going to give us a quick little tour. Tell us about Subtract Manufacturing. What do you guys do?
Subtract is a collective of small shops that are working together to accomplish more than any one shop can on its own. I also run a job shop called Audacity Micro, which specializes in production of small precision components.
Awesome. Well, let's go take a look. All right, this is the shop. That's awesome, man. Before we do the tour, I gotta hear about these small parts that you're working on. So let's check those out first.
I've got something to show you here.
How small are we talking?
So if you step around to this other side.
No way. You got to see this. This is crazy.
That right there is the part. This is one I just finished up the other day. That hole is tapped with a triple aught 120 thread. I can put under the microscope for you here. Actually, here's an SD card. We'll put it on the SD card, and then, where is it?
No way.
There it is on the SD card. So that's Maycore, which is a ceramic.
Wow. Yeah, that's insane. So Audacity Micro, kind of your name, I think you're living up to it, right? These super tiny drills. You breathe on them and they're gone.
Yeah, I think that one's crazy. A 0.3 millimeter, maybe a 0.4 millimeter.
Goodness.
And then another Audacity Micro staple is these teeny tiny little acrylic parts.
Okay.
I make hundreds of various acrylic circles and squares and ovals.
Can't even get a close-up shot of it. And what's the tolerance on these?
Those ones were just plus or minus 3. That little square was plus or minus 1 and plus or minus a couple tenths on the thickness.
Wow. All right, so let's check out the Audacity Micro shop, or Subtract, right? And take a tour and see how you make these super tiny parts, right?
Sure.
So where should we start first?
Should we follow the flow of material as we come through?
I think that's a great idea.
So material comes in this door.
Okay.
A lot of the times, if it's plastic, I'll process it just on this old table saw. This is generally just used for plastic, so there's no risk of metal contamination getting into the plastic.
Okay.
If it's metal, then I'll put it over there on my Tormach auto saw. So
that feels like a flex to be like, yeah, I've got an auto saw. We don't even have an auto saw at the shop, man. That's so nice.
These units aren't that expensive, and they cut pretty well. Mm-hmm. So this is actually a beta unit from Tormach. So this is between their like AF50 and their AF50 Plus. So it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit just different compared to all of their other saws, but it cuts really well.
Sure.
And I do kind of have it here in a corner. That's because I do occasionally pull a car in here. Which is why it's off to the side.
Yeah.
But nothing I cut is more than a couple inches long, so there's plenty of room here. And it just falls down into that bin there.
Okay.
A couple offcuts there.
What's going on here? What's that guy?
So this is a gauge that I use for setting the length. Now this is an auto saw. You can use it as an auto saw, but I don't do a lot of production work. Mostly I do kind of onesie-twosies. And it's nice to be able to use this to set the length. Like you can do it with a pair of calipers, but I can draw this up in Fusion. I have a parametric template and, draw it up, print it in a couple minutes, and I can use that to set the length on the blade before I cut. So I just make those per job, and it makes it more mistake-proof. It's easy with a pair of calipers to get off by an inch or off by, 100th thou. But with this thing, sure, there's probably some wiggle room in how hard you're pressing it against the blade, but you're not going to make a huge mistake in the length.
Right. No, that makes sense. Plus, you're not dinging up your calipers and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've also, I don't think I have one here. In the past, I've also made go, no-go gauges to check the stock in. I think I got rid of them because I don't use them at the right moment. But
nice. Right on. Okay, so then after you cut your material, looks like we've got a bunch of chip containment.
Yep, so this is just where I've been kind of storing my chips. Normally I don't make that much chips because I do smaller parts.
Super tiny parts.
But these are all steel chips from for me, a large production job that went on for a couple months, and I just haven't gotten these out of here yet.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then you got your tool station over here.
Yeah.
What's your favorite tool that you use almost all the time?
I am a big fan of the battery-powered hot glue gun. It uses DeWalt batteries. It's not actually DeWalt brand. I use hot glue way more than I should. You'll probably find some examples of that around the shop.
Nice.
This is generally miscellaneous tools. So these are things that don't fit into my everyday workflow, but I might use occasionally extra sockets, miscellaneous wrenches. If I need to occasionally you're in a machine in a tight place and a normal wrench won't fit, I have these Harbor Freight spare ones, and I can grind these to fit into tight places. These are sacrificial wrenches.
Okay.
You always end up with extra Allen wrenches, so I have kind of a stash of those, and if I ever lose one from one of my sets that lives at the machine, I can come in here and find one.
Yeah, that's smart.
This is kind of my junk drawer. This is where I put tools that don't have an established home.
That's a pretty neat junk drawer. Mine does not look that organized. So, all right. So after the saw, then where do we go next?
Well, there's one more way that I prep materials, and that is with the laser. This is a 100-watt CO2 laser, and I do a lot of those little thin acrylic shapes, and you can cut those on a table saw. You can cut them with a razor knife, but it's not always the most accurate or safe thing, especially on the table saw. This stuff can kind of grab. But throw it on the laser and cut out a nice, relatively accurate, repeatable rectangle in a minute and a half.
Yeah,
it flies through that acrylic.
Do you do packaging as well?
Yes.
For some of your parts?
I used to do that more when I used to have a product line.
Okay.
That's why I originally got this laser, was to custom cut cardboard inserts to go in packaging. I do that a little bit less now, but there are definitely times where you have something weird that you need to package that I'll throw some cardboard on here. Most of the time now, if I need custom packaging, I'll 3D print it.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it seems like the 3D printer is super helpful when it comes to shop improvements, and I'm sure we'll see that throughout the tour. So, right on. Okay, so we got the laser, got some storage over here. I don't need to worry too much about that.
The next place material goes, and I probably should get these two closer together so there's not wasted movement in here.
Okay.
But this room here is where basically anything that
coming in
creates a mess happens. So it's isolated from the rest of the shop, so we're not getting abrasives near the machines, and we're just containing mess. Mm-hmm. And I'll come in here to deburr it. So I like to deburr stock as soon as I cut it, so there's no risk of it cutting me or it sitting funny in a vise. So a lot of times I just have this cheap Harbor Freight belt sander. I'll run it across there, or the Scotch-Brite wheel on that buffer. And then offcuts go in those drawers behind you there. Again, I make small parts, so out of these drawers I can get a lot of useful material. There's a lot of parts worth of material in there.
Nice. So you've got odds and ends of are these prototypes? Tell me the story about all these random fidget toys and knives and stuff that I'm seeing around the shop.
So in the past I ran a business called Design the Everything that was more in the EDC kind of space. That business was a lot of fun, but not the most sustainable. Mm-hmm. And so I have some kind of remnants of that around. Those knives in particular were actually Christmas presents that I was making.
Cool.
So I have a YouTube video where I was making those. It was the night before Christmas where I was finishing up.
Nice.
These ones were only half machined. And realistically, I'll probably never finish them.
Yeah.
I should toss them, but...
Yeah. No, they're fun.
That was my first...
What material was this?
That was pre-hard A2.
Okay.
So those were all hard milled.
And you're machining these on what machine?
On the Tormach.
Okay, cool. Right on.
I think I have... So I had a job where I originally bought this material that was 1/16. Mm-hmm. And it ended up warping on me a bunch. And then I ended up having to buy some more that was thicker, that was an 1/8 inch.
Okay.
And I bought... Because I was having so much trouble with the thin stuff, I bought a ton of extra. And I sent it out to get hardened. And so I used that material to make those because I had a bunch of extra material.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
But it came out of these pre-ground A2 sheets that I sent off to get hardened.
Nice. Well, when you have a job that comes through that needs
Pre-hardened A2, I have a bunch of
got
it.
it. Yeah. Nice. Before we move on from this, what's going on with your air compressor? This is pretty fun.
So it's probably not the best idea to put the air compressor with all the abrasives, but I mean, they have filters on it, and it being in here keeps it separated from the shop in terms of noise.
Yeah.
And then as a second level of noise reduction, we have these kind of baffles around it, and it's just held together with these clips. They just hang from the ceiling there.
Okay. You want to get in there?
So there's still fairly easy access for maintenance. All you have to do is pull off those little hooks from the top. But it's not a miracle cure for sound, but it helps reduce it quite a bit, especially if you're in the room.
Okay.
I don't think you would notice outside of this room if this thing was here or not, but when you're in the room and the air compressor kicks on, and I swear it always kicks on as soon as you walk in here.
Yeah.
It does help quite a bit.
Nice.
And then that's plumbed all with, I think it's 3/4 inch rapid air. It might be 1 inch.
And so you did all this yourself. You
Yep.
did all the drops and everything. Nice. Yeah, that's nice having air drops everywhere you need them, like at the machines and in here and stuff. So right on. Is there anything else you want to show us that you've done in here, or this is the dirty room that doesn't get much love?
Yeah, this is the dirty room. Doesn't get much love.
Okay.
I love this little vertical saw. This little vertical bandsaw. And this is just a cheap Harbor Freight one on the cheap Harbor Freight stand. Mm-hmm. But especially for small or thin or weird materials, you don't want to put them on the big auto saw. And this thing is fantastic just for quick little cuts.
Gotcha. So
or like snipping off tabs, or
it turns like a portable saw into a vertical saw, but then
you can also use it as a tiny horizontal saw.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
For a long time, I only had one of these.
Okay.
Actually, I had that one back there, which I believe is still screwed to the wall. Yeah. This one died on me, but it's still, I haven't taken it down
It'll live there forever.
It'll live there forever as a monument.
Yeah. Cool. And it looks like you've got some nice organization going on here.
Yeah, these are kind of my consumables.
Okay.
So things like machine screws are in here. I have a couple boxes of stuff that I just kind of use for like prototyping or if I need a shop project. This one has like magnets. There's another one here. Yeah, this one is the hardware to go with 80/20 extrusion.
Yep.
And then also some springs and bearings, and just like if you need to whip up a quick shop project, all the stuff is kind of there.
Holy cow, this is not solid, is it?
That is solid.
So this is this a lifetime supply in
Pretty
your
much.
case? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I do occasionally make slightly larger parts.
Okay.
And so I needed, I don't know, 30 or 40 parts that were, I think that's 3.5 inch aluminum.
Yeah. That's beefy.
So,
cool.
I occasionally do bigger things, but not often.
Nice. All right, so where to next?
So from here,
I did not do a good job on that one.
That's okay. Oh, this is cool. What's this?
so this is called a frog pod. It's a tripod mount. That part there. A friend of mine, named Tom, goes by Infinite Craftsman online, designed and kind of developed these little tripod mounts. They've got, they're 3D printed, they're TPU, but they've got little captive magnets in there, and it lets you stick them to pretty much any magnetic surface, which when you're in a shop, just about every surface is magnetic.
Yeah, agreed.
And so when I'm filming videos, I can put my phone in that mount and then plop it, basically anywhere that I want it to.
Yeah, okay. Super secure, too.
So,
right on.
yeah, especially when you're on, the casting of a machine or whatever instead of a shelf.
Yeah.
And then I also have these clamp style ones. They're basically the same thing, where I can put on that mount and then clamp this to whatever I need to
Nice.
film.
Very cool. Adam, you might have to get one of these. This is cool. What do we got going on here?
So this is where I change tools.
Okay.
Can I reach behind you and grab a tool holder? So, let's say I'm changing out this end mill. I can just kind of clamp it in here and then use, a wrench or whatever appropriate tool to change that out.
And these are just 3D printed jaws?
These are just 3D printed. I think these were carbon fiber reinforced PETG that I had a friend of mine print before I had a nice printer. But they're probably due for an upgrade.
Okay.
And yes, this is probably the bulkiest possible way to change tools, but it's what I had around,
Yeah.
so why come up with something custom?
Yeah, it works. Very cool. We might have to make some aluminum jaws. Very cool. It looks like we don't have to look at this too much, but every shop has scrap carbide, right? So those are the end mills that didn't make it. They had a good run, I'm sure. Right?
That box goes back years. That goes back to my very first little Shoreline mill. There's all kinds of old tools in there. Any collets that I've murdered, any collet nuts that I've definitely never
there.
rubbed into
We've all
parts.
been there.
Yeah, that's my...
This is years of learning.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And there's going to be many more years of that. So help me understand. I see we've got the Tormach, the 1500, right? And then I want to say cute, but it's a machine tool.
It is a cute little mill.
The OM, the office mill, which they don't make anymore. They have like the
No,
CM
they've
and
moved
stuff.
to the CMs.
Yeah. But like you didn't always have these machines. You kind of bootstrapped and worked your way up. So you said you made that on, or you said back in the Shoreline days or something?
Yeah. So
like
my
give me a
very
rundown of the machine.
first, CNC machine was a little tiny. It was made out of MDF, a little tiny CNC router from a company called Millwright. They're still around. They're making bigger routers now. But like, I found my invoice, and I was like invoice number 5 or something. So I was one of the first machines this company ever made. This little tiny router, and at that point, I didn't have any intentions of using it to make money. It was kind of a toy. It worked. It was fine. It was super loud.
Yeah.
But then later, when I got more interested in the metal side of machining, real machining, not just little wood routing.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to offend anyone with that, but yeah. When I got more interested in being able to make money with machines, I got first a small little CNC lathe. It was a Shoreline lathe. It was repackaged by some other company for educational purposes. It had this teeny tiny little tool turret on it. It was a great little machine. It was
a cute machine.
It was a
We're
cute
allowed
machine.
to call it
yeah.
a cute machine. Yeah.
It was the size of about a microwave.
Okay, yeah.
But teeny tiny little lathe, and I used that to make a couple different products. We made some like markers on it. We made some spinning tops, and from there, that kind of funded the rest of my growth. So that little machine cost about $1,000, and I had to build a custom controller for it because it didn't come with a controller. So Linux CNC and kind of the whole DIY route.
Oh yeah.
And then that paid for a little Shoreline mill, which I don't think I ever actually made money on that mill, but it was kind of like my first experience to CNC milling.
Yeah.
And then I got a Pocket NC, little desktop 5-axis. And that was the first machine I actually made a real amount of money with. I made branding irons for woodworkers on that little tiny desktop 5-axis. And because it was 5-axis, I could make my branding irons fancier than everybody else. So I had like engraving on like 5 different sides of it. I had a bunch of decorative patterns, so I was able to sell them for a pretty high margin.
Cool.
And then that paid for my first Tormach, which was an 1100M. That 1100M paid for a 1100MX. That 1100MX paid for that machine. And then that machine, well, I have a deal with Tormach on this one. But
but
but it would have paid for that one.
yeah. So really like bootstrapping from, a hobby router to where you are now.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of stories like that too, right? Not many people are like, I'm just going to go throw a Haas in my garage and, go into all this debt.
Some people do.
Some people do, and that's cool. But it's been really fun. I've known you way before Toolpath days. 5-6 years or something. I've been kind of following along. And it's been super fun to watch you grow and get new machines. And, of course, they have to fit through that door.
Yep, that's my
which is
big
a bummer.
limiting factor. This is about the biggest machine I can get in here without major surgery to the building.
Yeah. And if we were talking next machine, what would it be? Or what type of machine?
I need a 5-axis.
Okay.
So something with a high-speed spindle, 5-axis, ideally some sort of like pallet changing.
Nice.
Where I like to go.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we've teased the machines. Should we look at the machines and the tooling and all this stuff that you're doing in the machine, or?
Yeah, let's start with the Haas. We'll go chronologically here.
Okay, sweet.
So This machine is it's a Haas office mill. I don't even remember if I have it plugged in right now.
A Ben
I do
for
have it plugged
comparison.
in.
I'm not a tall dude, but I'm taller than this machine.
It's
so
about the size of a refrigerator. Maybe a little bit deeper. Well, yeah, really not even.
Yeah.
It's about the size of a refrigerator.
yeah.
It also opens like a refrigerator, which is my favorite and least favorite part about this machine. It also has a little door here.
Oh, that's
It's got a door and a door.
Nice.
It's so compact. It takes up basically no space in the shop, and it's really ergonomic because you can open the refrigerator door and you're right by the table and it's at a nice level. Whereas if you're on like a VF2, you kind of have to reach into the machine, which when you're moving a 50-pound vise or whatever can be annoying. But this machine is just very fun to work on.
Okay.
Now that being said, it is old. This machine is I think a 03.
Okay.
It's seen some things in its life. I need to have the spindle rebuilt.
What's RPM?
So it's got a 40,000 RPM spindle.
40,000. Okay.
And this is why I got into making small stuff. Is because when I was transitioning from the product business to a job shop business, I was looking around going, okay, what niches can I be competitive in? Well, a lot of people don't have the desire or capability to make small stuff. I had this machine at this point. And it's like, okay, well, if I focus on the stuff that other shops don't want to take, I can do it. The other benefit of doing small parts is it's not very capital intensive. And I mean, I was making that transition to job shop because the other business wasn't really making money.
Okay.
So having something, a new business that didn't require a bunch of investment was huge.
Yeah.
And if you're doing parts that can fit on your finger, you can spend $5 on material and get a whole lot of parts out of those.
Yeah. You're telling me people don't want to take these jobs?
Yeah, for some reason people with VF2s don't want to do those jobs.
I don't understand why. I mean, you sneeze and you're done. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, I lost it.
I broke one of those when I was measuring because I had a pair
We're
of
gonna
mics
put
and
it back in
over
here.
tightened it.
Yeah. Hopefully that's to spec and it should go in there. Cool. So, Adam, get a quick look at the inside of this machine. So there's a lot going on. You've got a Saunders fixture plate. You've got probing, and you've got some goofy-looking crown thing in there. I know what it is, but I want you to tell kind of the audience.
Ignore the fact that the probe does not have a tip in it at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
I had to borrow that for the Tormach when I broke my last one. So that's a little Aroa base. It's a quick change 0 point. That one is all manual. We'll look at my Tormach here, and it has some pneumatic ones. But it's just a very small 0 point. It's very precise, very repeatable. And then, of course, it's mounted on a adapter that then goes into my Saunders plate.
Nice. Pretend I'm Michael Scott. It talks to me like I'm 5. What is a 0 point system? Because you just said it, and what's the reasoning behind it, and why did you decide to go with it?
Let me show you that on the Tormach.
All right, cool. So we're done with this machine?
Yep, you can hit the power on that one.
We'll just leave it on. I'm not going to mess it up.
Oh, I had a vise in there. So I have I have 3 different 0 points, technically. 2 different Aroa points on this machine. The advantage of these is how quickly you can trade off fixtures. So I have a vise in this horizontal one right now. If I want to move it to there, it's just a flip of a switch, pull it out, put it in, and then it is locked in place. And this connection is fairly rigid. This 0 point's a little bit small, so it's not going to be super, super rigid, but it's definitely rigid enough for anything that I do, and it's repeatable within microns. I think their spec is 5 microns or 10 microns, something like that.
Yeah.
And if I need to switch, so, I have this little vise in here with that piece of material, and I want to put in my bigger vise, it's just a switch and back in.
Yeah.
And of course, because it's pneumatic, this could be automatable with a robot at some point, which is one of my goals going forwards.
Okay. Let's come back for that.
But as a job shop, being able to switch between fixtures and not have to reprobe in or like retram a vise every time is huge.
Yeah.
It's a big step in productivity.
So because you have both set up on each machine, now this machine's not getting a ton of love right now.
It is
But in in a more of a production environment, you were able to maybe run Op1 on this machine and then transfer it over for Op2 on that machine and not have to worry about any sort of weird blending issues or inconsistencies because you've got a solid 0-point fixturing system.
Yeah, because as soon as you take the material out of the vise, you lose a ton of precision.
Yes.
So you want to reduce that as much as possible. That's why I have this horizontal system set up here, where I can take a vise from the vertical position and, if it cooperates, these ones aren't actually a Roa brand, and they're a little bit sticky sometimes. It always happens on camera.
That's okay.
Oh, I turned off the air compressor. I don't have pressure.
Oh, we're losing pressure.
Yeah, that's what happened. I turned off the air
Adam
compressor.
for that because he wants this nice audio or whatever.
We got a couple tries though. But I can switch straight from vertical to horizontal and hit, I can hit 5 sides of the part without ever removing it from the vise and not needing an expensive 5-axis. So this entire system, granted I got it used, but this entire system was in the order of $800.
Wow.
Whereas a 5-axis is a lot
Several
more
hundreds
than
of thousands of dollars. Yeah. Yeah.
And eventually I can switch these to pallet loading.
Very cool. So this is your poor man's 5-axis.
Yeah,
right now.
I call it the not a 5-axis.
Not a 5-axis?
Not a 5-axis.
Love it. Yeah. That's an even better name for it. Cool. Yeah, Adam, you can get some cool B-roll of it eventually. Well, here, talk a little bit more about just kind of your whole setup. So when you're a one-man shop, you have to really kind of be dialed in as to your processes and what you're doing to stay efficient and actually make money, right? So we've seen this on a lot of machines.
Yep.
You've got some type of tool tagging system. You want to talk about that? Maybe show some of the tools off.
So I'm in the middle of standardizing my tool library, and this is kind of the first prototype of that. Right now, every tool, whenever I load it into the machine for the first time, I make a tag for it if it doesn't already have one. The tag has the tool number in my new standard library, the diameter, this little letter code on it. This one, it's LLNF. That stands for long length non-ferrous.
Okay.
And then flat. So this, I can look at this. It's a 1/32 long length and mill and flat. And so that tool I have standardized, T101, is standardized in my tool library as one of my standard tools. I would call this one a swing tool, meaning it's one that I inventory, but it's not necessarily always in my ATC.
Is that the reason it's a different color, or do the colors have any sort of significance?
The colors at this point don't have any significance.
Okay, gotcha.
In fact, you can see I ran out of filament when I was printing these, and that's why it's 2 colors.
Nice.
But all the tools that are in the machine have tags here. If I remove a tool from the machine, do I have enough air pressure? Yeah, I do. So this one I can tell is an 1/8 inch. There we go. So this is tool 120, 1/8 inch, standard length, non-ferrous, flat. So that goes on there. And this machine has 1,000 tool offsets.
Okay.
So I can, as long as I don't take this out of the holder, I can put it back over here on my rack of tools, and I can put this back in the machine whenever, and I won't have to reprobe it or anything.
Right.
So if we wanted to swap in this one, which is tool 164, this is a half-inch standard length tool for ferrous materials. All I have to do is pop this in the little bin there on the side, tell the machine which tool I'm loading, and it's good to go. I don't need to reprobe it off. So tool changes are super quick. And in fact, even with the Tormach, if you're making a one-off part, you don't actually have to load the tool into the ATC. It'll just prompt you for a manual tool change.
Oh, I like that.
So if you're doing like soft jaws or something, you don't even need to, bother loading the ATC up.
Yeah. Oh, that's super slick. So you have that what was that? 164?
164.
That work offset, for the length offset, is already inside of the Tormach.
If it has the tag on here, then that means the length is already in the machine.
Gotcha.
And so I don't need to re-enter it.
Gotcha. Looks like you're pretty organized here.
This drawer
or getting organized, right?
Yeah, I am getting organized. I still need to move all of my tools from the 2 different machines. I had an issue where I would have a tool in stock, but it would always be at the wrong machine, like every single time.
Yeah.
And so every single time I needed to go load a tool, I needed to walk to that machine and then walk to this machine, find it, load it up, and go. So I decided to standardize and put all of my tools in one place, one central area. That way I'm not like, running out of a tool here and then buying more and then realizing I had 10 over there. This kind of helps just streamline everything.
One-man shop problems, right?
Yeah, one-man shop problems. But when the tool is not set up in a holder, I just throw the tag in the bin. And eventually I'm going to redesign these bins. I made these too large for most of my tools, and I need more room in these drawers. But eventually here I'll have a bin where this can go. But that way when I need to set up one of these tools, I can just grab the tag. As soon as I set it, tag goes on it, so I don't lose track of what tool it is. Again, if I ever break it down, I just throw the tag in the bin.
Smart, yeah. Love that. That's great.
With my tool numbering, I've done the work in Fusion. I haven't quite gotten it to the physical world yet.
Okay.
But tools 100 through 200 are just my standard end mills. And these ones, I have a system, I have a code where the second digit there is the size. So like 110s are 1/16, 120s are 1/8, 130s are 3/16.
Oh, okay.
And that goes all the way on to 3/4 inch, which I am sure I don't have any of. I do have 1 5/8 tool. The last digit is a code for what the tool is. So like I know if the last digit's a 0, that is a tool for non-ferrous materials, and it's just a standard length flat end mill. If it ends in a 1, that's a non-ferrous flat end mill long length.
Okay, wow.
And so for tools 100 through 200, I have the naming system standardized.
Yeah.
These are what I call my swing tools, which are tools that are something that I maintain an inventory of. I don't have them yet, but I'm going to make Kanban cards. But these are actively maintained inventory. And they may or may not already be set up in a tool holder.
Okay.
And then all the tools beyond that, I just use random numbers. So, well, to an extent. So drills and taps are 300 to 500. And anything beyond 500 is just, the one-off tool that I needed for whatever job. Yeah. And so I don't maintain an inventory of those, but I still have the information like in my Fusion tool library. So I found that if you over-standardize like your tool numbers and stuff, and like you try to have a naming system that encompasses every single tool, it will eventually break. You'll find exceptions to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not having any system was annoying. If,
right.
Tool 1 was a 1/8 inch end mill and tool 2 was a 3-inch face mill. Like I needed some sort of system, and so by breaking it into kind of 2 separate segments is how I solved that.
Yeah, makes sense. It's crazy that there's not just like one standard way to. Well, that also is dictated by your machine. Like, can the OM have 1,000 tool offsets?
So the office mill.
That's tricky, right?
Yeah, tool 1 has to be an ATC slot 1. Tool 2 has to be an ATC slot 2.
Man.
Whereas the Tormach 1,000 offsets.
All right. So if you have a Tormach 1,500, maybe you can use this type of method because it makes sense even as you're talking about it. I love you can just look at the number and understand what you're looking at. Yeah, that's awesome.
And when this is finally finished, Subtract is going to open source all this. So we'll make our Fusion tool library with speeds and feeds from pre-tool publicly available. We will design our custom bins with 2-color 3D printing with the labels on here, and our Kanban cards. Nice. We're all going to open source. So if somebody is just getting started and just wants to adopt somebody else's tool system, they can take ours for free and do what they want with it. Modify it for their own uses or use it just like we use it. Yeah,
that's awesome. Can you give me a 30-second, what is Subtract?
So Subtract is a collective of small shops. So, we kind of have the same idea of a lot of different companies like Xometry or Fictive. We're we have a kind of a parent entity that handles the quoting and the marketing. That's me. That's what I do. But then I work with a bunch of smaller niche shops that are working together to do more than any one of us can do by ourselves. So Audacity Micro, for example. So Audacity Micro is the name of my job shop. Subtract is the kind of the parent entity. Audacity Micro is a very niche shop. We're good at making small things. We're not good at making basically anything bigger than 6 inches.
Okay.
But we have people on the network who, have larger machines. There's a guy on our network has a VF6. He can do a whole lot of parts that I would never want to touch, and I can do parts that he doesn't want to touch. Mm-hmm. So by having kind of a structure, kind of a command and control network, if we get a quote in that has both tiny parts and big parts, we can send the big parts to the guy who's good at the big parts and the small parts to the guy who's good at the small parts. And there's some kind of network efficiency gains.
Yeah.
We're not Xometry. We're never going to be Xometry. We prioritize in treating our shops well. We pay much, much better rates than Xometry. We operate a much more like a farming co-op than we do a, traditional corporation or whatever.
Sure.
My goal is eventually to be able to start offering more benefits to our shop network. I would love to get a insurance deal so that we can all, as a small shop, like getting insurance is kind of a huge expense.
Okay. Yeah.
But if we can have kind of a group plan for that, it would be a benefit. We can offer things like our suggested tool network, or our suggested tool catalog, or suggested tool library, and provide all of the stuff they need to get started with a Kanban system. We can provide our recommendations on work holding with Toolpath. Is if we have all the systems standardized, we can start generating CAM that's useful for them to make their setups and stuff easier.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how do you use Toolpath right now in Subtract?
So the biggest thing we use Toolpath for is quoting.
Okay.
So as the corporate entity that's handling quoting for this whole collective of shops, we do a lot of quoting, and Toolpath makes that quicker and more accurate. So, everyone watching this has probably done hand quoting, and it takes a long time to do it right. And what generally happens is people kind of start to get good at guessing quotes, and they just start, guessing numbers. But then sometimes they're wrong. They'll miss a feature on the drawing, or they'll misread a tolerance or something like that, and you end up with these potential errors in quoting. Toolpath kind of gives us a system to do that quoting and make sure that we don't miss things like that undercut we didn't see or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's really sped up our quoting, and now I use it for almost all of the programming that I do for Audacity Micro.
Yeah. So you're not only taking the estimate and everything it gives you, but you're pushing the CAM automation. Yeah. And running parts with it. That's awesome. Cool. That's the dream. That's what we're trying to do here. So that gets me excited. So let's keep taking a look. I keep taking a peek at your work holding. I think work holding's super exciting because, if you talk to a machinist, like, hey, how are you going to machine this part? And you talk to maybe 10 different machinists, you might get 20 different answers.
Yeah.
So tell us about your work holding. Looks like you got tons of soft jaws and vices. Adam, make sure you get some nice close-ups of this because I think there's some gold here.
So there's actually kind of some evolution in my work holding here. A lot of my early stuff I did on these like Saunders pallets.
Yeah, okay.
So these are actually the pins from this flux vise that I found are the best locating pins for the Saunders plates. They've got a little bit of a dome to them so they don't bind in the hole. And then this is a laser cut Saunders plate that I use for storing these.
Oh, that's so smart. Yeah.
So that the pins on the bottom have a place to go.
Yeah.
But back before I had the Aroa system, I did a lot of work with these little Saunders pallets that I was able to swap out. It's not a true quick change system, but it's a whole lot faster than pulling a vise off and tramming it in. And they just kind of inherited the tram of the Saunders plate. That one was designed for one of the longer of those little self-centering vices, which I've now taken off and put on an Aroa pallet.
Right.
After being purely Saunders, and I have these flux vices. So these are still my favorite vices that I've ever used. They're really designed for like second op work holding with soft jaws. You can see I have some pretty well-loved soft jaws on here now. They can be single station or double station. And I found them to be the most accurate vices that I have. I have not gotten these adapted to my Aroa system yet. That is on my list of things to do. But these have been absolutely fantastic. They're also really nice and compact.
Yeah.
Which for the office mill, because the work area was so small, was great. Because even a 4-inch vise on that thing is huge.
Yeah.
But these little flux vices, they mount straight to the Saunders plate. They've been fantastic.
I can vouch for them too. This is not a commercial, but I have them on my style, and just being able to pop them in and just the repeatability is incredible. We're like instant machinists, right, at heart. We've known each other from Instagram for a long time. And Ken, he ended up buying Flux, and he's got a couple of Speedios in his garage. It'd be fun to do a shop tour of his. But
is his new machine a Grobe?
A Hermla.
Yeah,
so just in his backyard garage. Yeah. But he's a great guy. This is a really cool product, and he's also a Toolpath supporter customer, which is fun. So, very cool product. Can we take a look in these drawers, or is that
they're a little less organized.
Okay.
I'm just kind of general fixturing and hardware. I have some very well-loved mod vices. I have a bad habit of kind of treating these as sacrificial, so they've been machined into a couple times.
We won't let Saunders see that.
Sorry, Saunders.
Yeah, sorry, Saunders.
I have this work stop that works with the Saunders vices and table, and this has been super nice.
Yeah, that's another instant machinist guy.
Kowalski Precision.
Kowalski, yeah.
This thing is great. This is one of my favorite products for the Saunders table.
He has a Sile X5, which is kind of like the Brothers Speedio of the Sile world. Very cool.
Some Mighty Bite clamps. Some collets that I use with the Aroa ER32 collet fixture. I use this one a lot. This is one of my favorite fixtures because I do a lot of small stuff, and the just kind of round material form factor is really convenient.
Yeah.
You can get a good selection of materials, and it tends to be cheaper than the bar equivalent.
Yeah. Is it pretty repeatable, when you're clamping the collet with like the same amount of force too? So you don't have to reprobe your part a bunch, or?
Yeah, as repeatable as any ER32 stuff. I don't use it for Op2 work holding. If I'm doing anything high precision, I'll go to the Flux vise for Op2, or even the 6-inch Haas vise I have over there. Or if it's a little bit lower precision, basically anything above plus or minus 1 thou, I use these import vices with the soft jaws for Op2. Mostly because they are easy to throw in and out of my 0-point system. Also, I can just make these soft jaws for super cheap. And again, I probably average 4 uses per side.
Nice.
With how small my parts are, so they're very cheap. Cool. The Flux vise is better, but the jaws are a little bit more expensive. Mm-hmm. So anything more than plus or minus 1, I can do in there. Anything less than plus or minus 1, I'll tend to put in the Flux.
Gotcha. Cool.
I don't know if I have many. Kind of a graveyard of soft jaws.
Oh no! What happened here?
This
is going to be the thumbnail. Warp, warp.
That is not the first jaw I have, or first vise I have broken by over tightening. I was using a torque wrench, but I guess I had it set too high.
That's funny. Everybody's like, always use a torque wrench, but it doesn't actually work if you have the setting too high, right?
So I got this used from Breaking Taps. He has a YouTube channel.
Great.
And I didn't even get to use it once. The first time I went to use it, I broke it. So I guess I should have read the torque specs online before I used it. But I'm pretty sure I can buy another pair of jaws for it.
Cool.
I used to use collet blocks a lot for kind of indexing weird parts. Mm-hmm. Now I've replaced that largely with my Aroa stuff. I have more stuff from Flux. There's a Flux puck, which I've never actually used. Don't tell Ken.
I won't. He won't be watching this.
But these actually also have a good 15-degree indexing ability. So again, if you need to make kind of complicated parts and you don't have a 5-axis, if you put this horizontally, you can fake having a 5-axis.
This is your not a 5-axis starter pack.
I think this is actually what gave me the idea to put that Aroa in there horizontally.
Very cool. And then it uses a flexure here. That's super fun. Yeah, I've never seen one in person.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I should probably try that out at some point.
Yeah.
I think all machines do this, but I've kind of collected fun work holding over
That's
time.
why I was excited to see what you had here. Yeah.
This is kind of more Aroa stuff. I've got a bunch of these pull studs, some of the locating plates. This is my super glue palette.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
So I do a lot of adhesive work holding, and I have a whole video on the process. But basically, I just take a piece of aluminum and face it off, and then depending on the part and circumstances and everything, I may or may not put a layer of tape on top of it, and then use super glue to hold the part down.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time now, I actually go straight part to the fixture. But occasionally, if the part is too delicate to release directly from there, it takes a little bit of force to remove that super glue.
Yeah.
I'll put down the layer of tape as a barrier to help me separate those.
Yeah. So this is great for like high mix, low volume.
Yes.
But that would not be much fun if you had to do.
It's very slow.
Yeah.
It takes about half an hour to get a part set up, maybe even more sometime,
Yeah.
to get a part set up on here. But because it's all adhesive, there's no work holding forces. And so you can make more accurate parts more easily.
Yeah.
Because the holding force of the vise is a lot of the times the biggest thing I'm fighting accuracy-wise.
Right.
So
Cool.
the super glue, no work holding forces, so that's not a problem. I have wax, so occasionally you just need to pot a part in wax to be able to hold it. I have some clay, which is good for dampening parts that want to ring on you. This is a palette for the anchor point 0-point system,
Yeah.
which I also have in there, which I think we glossed over.
Yeah, let's talk about that because Jamie, kind of a good friend of Toolpath and
I have enough
Justin
air
and
pressure?
stuff. He sent us.
I don't have enough air pressure.
Oh yeah, that's a bummer.
Let's turn the compressor on.
Yeah, we can do
Okay.
that.
This is an early beta unit. This is the one you sent me, right?
So, well, I was just saying. So Jamie actually sent Toolpath an engraved. It says Ben and Justin or something.
Okay.
And it's actually at my house. I need to make a pallet. I need to do everything. But yeah, this is a cool. Tell us about the anchor point.
So the anchor point is cool because the pallets are dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So with the Aroa stuff, you have to have, you have a $15 pull stud at least. The cheap knockoffs are $15.
Oh, okay.
And then you have the little feet, and then you have this locating plate down here, and altogether it's like $30. And this is for like the cheap import version. If you're using Lang, then you have like $70 worth of pull studs.
Yeah.
The anchor point uses a BT30 pull stud, just like I use on my tool holders.
Yeah.
And those, again, especially if you get a cheap one, those are, $10 or whatever.
Oh yeah, like Haas sells them for like dirt cheap.
Yeah, they're super, super cheap. And then it just uses 2 dowel pins to locate the part.
Yep.
And you just can't beat the cost of making these or, just the quick cycle time to knock these out.
Yeah.
They have kind of an optional hole here.
Poka-yoke design.
A poka-yoke hole, yeah, so that you can't load it backwards.
Yeah.
But they're just so quick and easy to knock out the pallets. I have not actually put one of these into production yet. I've just been playing with it. And you can tell I don't have this tied into the rest of my system yet, so I just kind of shove my air gun in that tube there to activate it or turn it off. But for as small as it is, it's surprisingly rigid. It's shockingly repeatable. It does matter how well you make your pallets on repeatability, because if you make those holes too large, then you can get more wiggle.
Shifting.
But machining a half-inch hole accurately isn't particularly difficult. So it's just
cool.
It's a very cool system. I want to play with it more. His new ones are just works of art too. He's done a bunch of surfacing on them. He moved anodizing in-house, so he's been playing with fun colors.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch.
They're beautiful.
Very cool. I'm going to open up these drawers because I'm really curious what you got going on in here.
So I have a mix of things that are well organized and things that are not.
That's fine.
So this drawer is the one that's well organized. We'll talk about this drawer. A lot of this is custom Gridfinity bins. Using the tool trace thing that they talked about on With Intolerance the other day.
Yeah.
I was able to make a bunch of kind of custom bins to get things sorted away. I've got collets up there, kind of some deburring tools in here. I designed these screwdriver holders. I was never happy with the designs I was able to find online, and so I designed my own kind of universal
got a magnet
screwdriver holder.
Yeah.
Yep, it's got a magnet.
So they don't shift around when you're.
Yep, I don't have the Gridfinity base in here yet. I just have everything set in here, and so they have a tendency to kind of pick up when you pick them up.
Sure.
But it's the first like fully universal Gridfinity screwdriver holder I've found.
Cool. So this is like, so much of this is 3D printing, and you're, maybe running a job or something, and you're like, I need a place to hold, whatever, my Knipex pliers or something, and then you're just like, I'll just whip something up on the 3D printer, and yeah, that's so cool. I need to get mine running.
It's all about continuous improvement.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see a lot of stuff in my shop is like half of it's dialing in, half of it's not. It's just because I've been slowly making things better. A year ago, everything was in a lot worse shape.
Yeah.
And I'm not done yet. I'll probably never be done. But if it gets a little bit better every day, eventually it'll be pretty darn good.
Do you try to set aside time every day to do something, or it just kind of happens, the ebb and flow of running parts and machining stuff?
am bad about having a consistent schedule with it.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in lean. I would love to, have kind of a traditional, 5S or 3S schedule in the morning and do shop improvements then. But also kind of the reason I went self-employed is I like kind of being able to do whatever I want with my schedule.
Yeah.
So if I want to, spend longer in the house with my kids, I'm going to do that in the morning. If I want to, get out early and start working early, I'll do that. So I'm not good at having a consistent schedule. Generally, the most improvements happen when I have a part that takes a long time to run.
Yeah.
So if I ever have a part that's running for an hour, I could sit here and twiddle my thumbs, or I could start working on shop improvements.
Yeah. Cool. Let's keep digging in. I always love seeing kind of don't worry about being organized. This is how you get stuff done too. So
should we just show you the shame and get it over with?
Yeah, let's see it.
This
also, we got to talk about this because I'm pretty sure this is one of your products.
That was an old product.
Many products.
So that was a parametric pry bar is what we called those. The customer had the ability on a website to move around the little sliders, and they could change 4 different variables. It was like the length, width, thickness, and what we called the aspect ratio, the curvature on the outside.
Yeah.
And then I window framed machined them so that I could have standard work holding.
That's so cool. So did you have to cam every single one of those iterations of what a customer, or I guess the model was probably parametric in a way.
Yeah.
That because you're using Fusion, right? That anytime you updated the model, it updated the toolpaths.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
So this was kind of before, I don't know if it was before he published it or before I found out about the container method template. And I basically, kind of convergent engineered that. That was kind of my first introduction to the container template style production. And I was also when I first got into the Fusion API because I needed the website where they designed them to give them previews, the customer previews of what their pry bar was going to look like. Otherwise, they're just choosing random numbers and hoping. And I couldn't figure out how to do that on my website in the cloud or whatever. So what I ended up doing is I wrote a Fusion API script. I had 4 variables, and it would, I had a range that each variable could be in, and it just started at the beginning and brute forced it. And so it would make one design, we'll start at, each variable being 1, 1, 1, 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would take a screenshot. And then it would go 1, 1, 1, 2. And it would take a screenshot. And then it would go 1, 1, 1, 3. And it would take a screenshot. And it would name the files kind of appropriate to the screenshot. And I kid you not, my poor laptop, the one that is now underneath that desk there with that monitor, it sat there and chugged and made screenshots for 10 days. Just Fusion running, changing a variable, taking a screenshot, changing a variable. Because it did it in 10 thou increments or something across 4 different variables.
Whoa. That's why it's under your desk, probably not being used anymore. You killed it.
That was a great laptop. No, it still runs. I do Fusion on that computer.
Oh, nice.
I need to get a second one over here by the Tormach.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Yeah, it just sat there for 10 days generating screenshots. And then the website, all it did is the customer would put in their variables. It would just round them to the closest screenshot and pull up the picture.
That's
and so
cool,
they could
though,
play
yeah.
with the different sizes and design their pry bar.
That's super cool.
But it was all, kind of pre-rendered, I suppose is the term.
Let's go through the drawer, and then I actually do want to see the all the iterations and the products that you kind of have come up with, and then kind of tells the story of how you got here, right? Because you started making products. So.
Should we start with the drawer of shame?
Of course.
This is going to make everybody cringe.
Oh, I mean, that's not bad, right? This is going to
So this is my tools by the Tormach. This is why I'm transitioning to a real system. So if we go to the Haas, it's more organized, but not quite as much. Mm-hmm. But I always had plans of implementing a real system here. And 6 months later, I'm now finally getting around to it, or I guess a year later.
Yeah.
So there's some shame in there. Really, this toolbox is not very full. I've got some nice long tools in there.
Oh, man.
This is pretty prime Audacity Micro stuff.
Yeah, this is just like what everybody tries to stay away from in the world. Do you know the aspect ratio on this thing?
Oh, gosh, it's at least 20.
Here, I'll get you a better shot there. See if we can get you out.
3/16 diameter, 3 1/8 length of cut, I think.
Yeah, ridiculous. I would not want to run one of these.
I did not want to run one of those.
Yeah. Nice. Anything else in the bottom of these drawers?
So,
some hats, Tormach hat.
oh,
and then you've got your
some miscellaneous tool holders,
miscellaneous
extra
tools.
torque wrenches, some tool holders that I haven't put pull studs in because they're in my anchor point pallets.
Yeah.
I haven't loaded those up.
Moving them back and forth. Yep.
Just
right on.
There's some parts for the Tormach, and wrenches. I don't use these lower drawers a whole lot. I kind of like to keep the tools that I use where they are accessible.
Oh.
And really, you don't need that many tools to run a mill. Yep, so that was one of my products. It's a tape measure. We stole the guts from, basically I went to Menards and I played with all the tape measures.
Yeah.
I found my favorite tape measure and stole the guts from it and then machined a aluminum housing for it.
That's super fun.
Yeah, I have a couple of those still floating around the shop. I didn't sell many of those, but it's one of my favorite products that I've ever made just from the utility. I use them all the time.
Yeah. Sweet.
I have a torque wrench adapter for tightening that ER32 collet holder.
Okay.
So that's been pretty cool. I didn't make those. That's from the company.
Nice. Very cool. Oh, you got some alcohol?
Alcohol wipes. I use these all the time.
Right.
I go through boxes of these. They're super, super cheap, and they're really handy for cleaning. I use them mostly for super glue work holding, but being able to just quickly wipe out the inside of a tool holder or something with them.
Yeah.
They're not really lint-free, but they're definitely low lint compared to like a paper towel.
Yep.
Really handy to have around.
Yeah, that's super smart.
I use these scalpels a lot for deburring. That one's kind of a larger blade on them, but they make them with pretty small blades. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to change out a blade, and they're dirt cheap. You can get these off Amazon, like 400 blades for $10.
Nice.
I tend to kind of go through them fast because I'm using them on metal, but they're so quick and easy to just kind of change out.
Right.
And they come in different shapes, and especially for deburring plastic parts, you can get little pointy blades for them that are fantastic.
Nice.
Tweezers. I use a lot of tweezers making small stuff.
I'm sure.
Otherwise, I do drop the parts.
What was that thing?
This is a little slitting saw that is on a ER16 collet. It's baked in there.
Okay.
So on my office mill, there's not a lot of tool holder options. Mm-hmm. And by not a lot, I mean there's ER16 or Rigo, and those are the only two options. So I have a lot of these kind of little adapters that use this ER16 collet. Now that one I definitely did rub the bottom of it. And in here, what tool is it? Tool 307, I think.
So this just like lives forever attached to the shank of it, or?
Because the shank and the collet are integral. Mm-hmm. The nut you can get on and off. Now that did have a run-in with a vise at one point, so the top is a little bit melty.
Yeah.
But that's supposed to be a nut.
Well, that's just anti-theft, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't mess with the nut.
So this little
Well.
extender is the same way. It's an ER16 collet on the inside there. And then it's just got this little straight shank adapter.
Gotcha.
So if you're running small tools and you need to get deeper, you can do that. Now, you could buy shrink fit or whatever, but these little extenders are relatively cheap, and you can just throw them in a normal holder.
Nice.
So I like those too. And again, on the office mill, you can't buy shrink for it.
Gotcha.
So that's why I have kind of a lot of those little things.
Gotcha. Well, right on. Is there anything else before we take a look at the piles of parts from the old days? Anything else you want to go through? You got some metrology stuff here.
Yeah.
Whoa, what is this? This is cool.
So I record YouTube videos. I've had a YouTube channel for over 10 years at this point.
Wow.
I started off with Fusion tutorials. But when I'm recording stuff, I wanted something that was easy to set up and like a low barrier of entry because, I'm making parts for money as I'm making these.
Right.
And if I spend half my time recording, my hourly rate drops a lot. I don't do YouTube for the money. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
So I needed something that was kind of quick and easy to set up. This is all 3D printed, and it fits my phone in here like this. And then I have a cord here that I can plug in. And then I have my DJI microphones, where this is the receiver. That slides in there. And then I can plug in that. So that connects the receiver to my phone via that cord that's routed through the handle there. And then I can put one of these microphones on me to pick up my voice. And if I need to use a additional shotgun mic, I can clip the other one and get a second audio channel of it here and then plug in my shotgun mic, which is somewhere.
Yeah.
And this just makes it much easier to kind of hold the camera. I get steadier shots.
Yeah.
If I'm doing shop tours, it's a little bit more ergonomic than just kind of holding the cell phone camera.
Yeah.
But
this is all 3D printed?
It's all 3D printed.
And you designed this entirely on your own?
Yep.
Nice.
So it was based it was inspired by another instant machinist named Possum Solutions. He makes, this kind of thing, but professionally for, people who actually know what they're doing. And I was looking at his stuff one day. I was running a big production job. I had a ton of time. And it's like, I want something like that for my phone.
Cool.
I had just watched back, proof to one of my videos where I was at a shop tour just on a phone. It was the one at Henry Holster's.
Yeah.
And I was like,
great
oh
one, by
gosh,
the way.
my filming is so unstable. And I felt very unprofessional just with a cell phone.
Sure.
And so I started just with the phone mount and just kind of worked my way out from there, one piece at a time, printing them out. And it's worked pretty well. It makes it much easier to kind of film.
Yeah, you don't get your hands in the way of the camera too.
And less likely to have if you plug this thing directly into your phone, the connection might be bad. It's kind of precarious at times. No, I need to unplug that before I take it out. But having it kind of all in a frame makes it more stable, more reliable.
Yeah,
less
I
likely
agree.
to cause
It's a little
errors.
awkward when you plug in your phone because it just
it
sits
hangs
over
off
here.
the end.
Yeah, nice. One thing I wanted to look here because it looks like you got some good labels here.
I'm a
Is
little
this
bit more
Gridfinity?
organized here. This is Gridfinity. Laser cut Gridfinity bases is a lot faster.
So we got some drills and mills. And then they have their little, what do you call these? I call these tool container or toolbox. Justin calls them toolboxes, which confuses
I've always
me.
just called it a box.
Yeah. But it lives with the tool, and then you've got your additional tools outside of the...
This was a good idea at the time. I thought it would be smart to have the box there, and then, so you have one box so you can keep track of what tool it is.
Exactly.
And then you have the tools loose so they aren't taking up as much space. Great in theory. In practice, at least you could probably do it right. But with my design of bin, they have a tendency to kind of move around as you open and close the drawer and escape. So they needed another revision that I hadn't quite done. Some people store the tools vertically, but one that's kind of dangerous for the operator because you can easily cut yourself on that. Secondly, when you're working with micro tooling, it's dangerous for the tool.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy here, has somehow survived multiple jobs. That is a 10-thou ball mill. You don't want that tip just kind of in the open because you can break that by looking at it too hard.
Yeah.
In fact, I have broken tools like this when I was tightening them. Before I had my tool tightening fixture, I would slip a little bit in and break the tool, and then you're out $60.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So I will be iterating on this for the drawers. I have those larger bins in there now, which I actually printed for my hardware on my storage shelf there. I originally 3D printed those bins to tackle this, but then the tools just kind of became the priority. So eventually I'm going to kind of build up a stack, like a hardware store display. But I don't know. There's only so much time in the day.
Yeah, I'd say you've got a pretty dialed in shop. It's been fun just to see like all the continuous improvement stuff. I think that's why a lot of people love seeing, you're a fly on the wall. You get to, I love being a part of shop tours because you're like, oh, this guy thinks completely different about the problem or how to store a tool. And then you can kind of either iterate on that or use that at your shop.
Yep.
I'm like taking notes. Luckily, we're recording it all because I'm like going to watch it back and probably do a bunch at the Toolpath shop and then also my home shop. So, this is very cool.
All right, one last thing.
Okay.
This is a recent addition. This is just a little DeWalt battery vacuum cleaner. And I originally got this expecting to use it in this mode, particularly for cleaning up in the grinding room there around the different things. I thought I would use it like this. Then I discovered it had floor attachment. And it's one of those things you don't understand unless you've run a shop before. But the ease of just throwing this thing on and taking 2 minutes to vacuum around the shop has, it just reduced the barrier of keeping floors clean by a huge amount. Especially when I get onto, these mats that you can't just sweep. Or I have these horse stall mats on the floor. They are very nice for standing on. They are great if you drop a tool on them. The tool kind of bounces instead of breaks. But they're a pain to clean. They're a pain to sweep. But this little DeWalt vacuum cleaner has saved me so much time and effort and just made my floors cleaner. It's one of those things I never thought would have that big of an impact.
Was it about a year ago Saunders got a backpack? It was Milwaukee or something?
It started with Henry Holsters. He had his little Milwaukee backpack vacs.
Yeah.
And then Saunders picked it up. And I saw that and I was like, oh, that's cool.
They were gushing
and I didn't
about
understand.
It.
And now I understand.
This is your aha moment. That's so fun. Cool. All right, so vacuum. Get a little stick vacuum for your shop. There you go.
The other thing I love, and my wife always makes fun of me because I talk about this thing far more than I should, is I have this water cooler. This was just off of Facebook Marketplace for a couple bucks. It literally fell off a truck and was going to get returned to Amazon. Then Amazon said they didn't want it back, and so I got it for dirt cheap. But it's actually actively refrigerated and filters the water. It doesn't have a tank. It's just plumbed to my water in here. And having nice ice cold water available, it sounds like a dumb thing, but when you're running a shop by yourself, you get busy and you don't think about things like drinking water. I could walk to my house and fill up my cup in my refrigerator, but I'm never going to do that during the workday. And I was literally getting dehydrated just because I would get focused on work and I'd be in here for 8-10 hours. But a stupid little thing like having a water cooler has been, life-changing is a pretty strong word, but it's been very nice.
Dehydrated, yeah, it's the first. They talk about first order or being able to get something instantaneously.
First order retrievability from Adam Savage.
Yeah, there you go. So thanks to Adam, we're all staying hydrated because of you. Cool. And you got your coffee bar.
Yep.
And the mini split, that's probably a game changer.
Yep, having the mini split. This shop is pretty well insulated at this point. When we first moved in, the walls were well insulated, but the attic was just bare. And we blew in a bunch of insulation. We had someone do it, and the guy we hired was like, we normally do this much for commercial, we normally do this much for residential. And I went, how much can you put in? You know, like how much is it safe to put in?
Go to the very
Go to
peak.
the max. And now, most days I don't really even need to run the air conditioner. Even in like the peak of summer.
It's super comfortable in here.
Yeah,
That's
the slab holds heat pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So the temperature in here is stable within a couple degrees all year round.
Yeah.
Which is nice for precision. It's also just nice for the human element.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. You can get a bit more done when you're a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Kind of on that note, we put in this. This is a big air filter. I have really bad allergies. In fact, it's kind of a miracle I'm not sniffling today. Whenever I'm sweeping or moving stuff around in the shop, I'll turn on the air filter. We kind of glossed over, but I also have a powder coating booth. So I have a fairly nice powder coating set up here for small stuff. Whenever I'm powder coating, I'll turn that on. Just anything that makes dust, I'll turn on the air filter, and it helps a lot with, you know, my allergies and stuff. Or if I'm using the laser, I'll turn it on.
And the powder coating, that was originally because you were doing a lot of products that
Correct.
required powder coating. Gotcha.
Which I know you wanted to see. Where'd my little box?
Oh yeah, I don't know. We were looking at it not too long ago.
Yeah, there's a couple tape measures
we got
sitting
a
around
couple tape
there.
measures. Toolpath bottle opener.
So, well, this is the second revision of it, but these Carabiners are kind of what really got me started as going full-time self-employed. So this is the second revision. We had an earlier revision that was a little bit more simple. But we did a Kickstarter of these, and through the Kickstarter itself, we sold about $30,000 worth. Okay. And then on through BackerKit, where people can do pledges afterwards, we sold about another $20,000 worth.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I was able to kind of jump into going full-time self-employed with that the $50,000 from that project. In addition to, we had just moved houses. We had sold. We were down in Indianapolis, where during the post-COVID era, house prices shot up dramatically, and our house price down there doubled. And we were able to move up here, where we were able to have this nice property with a nice shop, and we were able to keep our mortgage payment the same. We got more than twice as much property and house, and I was able to take some money from that to have some margin as I went full-time self-employed. So between that Kickstarter and the just getting lucky with the timing of the market on houses, we were able to. That was how I was able to take my jump.
Cool.
So
did you mention what material that is?
Yeah. So this is all titanium except for the screws.
And it uses a flexure.
It uses a flexure. Yeah. We machine them in the open position.
Yep. So
that you can preload it. Most Carabiners don't have any tension when they are closed, which, I mean, is fine most of the time. But it feels a lot nicer, and it's much more secure when it always has some spring force holding it closed.
For sure.
Now, machining these things was a nightmare.
And you machine those on your Tormach, right?
Some of these were on the Tormach, some of these were on the office mill.
Okay, gotcha.
So I got the office mill because I was doing a bunch of slotting with small tools, and the high-speed spindle made sense for that.
Yeah.
So these Carabiners are really how we got our start.
And think I want to say I knew about you before the Carabiners, but I did buy one of these. I have one of these at home.
You have one of the first versions?
Yeah, like the OG ones.
These ones, I don't know why these ones have paracord on them.
Yeah.
I learned a lot in the process of making these ones. The kind of some of the story behind these. And you might even be able to tell, are those two different thicknesses if you compare them?
Nope.
So the materials on those, we got blanks laser cut. And from a supplier, when we first ordered them, we ordered them at, I don't remember what the thickness was, probably 3/16. Yeah, okay, we must have ordered them at 3/16 thickness.
Uh-huh.
And we ordered a batch of 10 prototypes, and they came in, and they were 220 thou. So they were quite a bit thicker than the 3/16 as advertised.
Yeah.
And we tested those Carabiners pretty extensively, and they work great. And then when we ordered the production batch of several thousand of them, they came in and they were actually 3/16 thick. Oh. And we looked at those and went, well, they're close enough. They should be fine. It's basically the same thing. Like, if anything, they'll be a little bit lighter. Well, it turns out, because we didn't have the side guarding on here yet, these ones have a little guard that keeps it from opening that way.
Right.
The ones that were about a 1/4 inch thick didn't have any issues with popping open from getting pushed to the side.
Like this kind of movement? Yeah.
But the thin ones did.
Yeah.
And because of that, we had issues with that first batch, which was thousands of Carabiners, where they would pop open on people. And it kind of became a major headache. And honestly, may have been one of the reasons, like, we lost momentum on that. Because we spent a long time replacing Carabiners that were popping open.
Yeah.
We ended up making a little retrofit that would pop in the side.
Like this whole kit?
But I lost months, like, trying to retrofit those Carabiners we shipped a bad product, and that was on us, but it's a learning experience for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, the end story there too is you made it right for those people that were having issues. You figured out a solution,
and
then you created
we shipped everybody
a new
little
retrofit
retrofit kits,
right?
Yep.
I think that's like the main takeaway as a machine shop or a prototyper, or even if you have your own product, is just like continuous improvement, kind of never settling for even just like if it works, right? You're always trying to improve.
Yeah.
So.
And it was a expensive lesson, but it was a really good one. And this is why I'm so big on lean and like trying to go to a single piece flow. It's because I've made these mistakes before.
Yeah.
It was batch work. If we hadn't ordered 3,000 blanks at the same time, if we had, Kanban that out or whatever, we wouldn't have had that issue because we would have caught it. Well, we would have had the same issue, but we would have caught it in the first 100 instead of 3,000 Carabiners later.
Yeah.
Because by the time you make 3,000, you can't afford to just buy new blanks and make them again.
Right.
Batch work pushes you into decisions that are less than optimal decisions.
Yeah.
Whereas if you try to single piece flow it, if you realize you're doing something wrong, which you always do when you're doing production work, there's always improvements that you can make. You get to find those and fix them right at the beginning.
Right. You can maintain a higher or a stricter quality when you're doing what do you call it? One piece flow?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why now,
Bashing out.
as a job shop, people tell me that I'm crazy and that I'm wasting time switching between setups and stuff, but all parts I do are single piece flow.
Other than just the Carabiner, you've made a bunch of other products. We just talked about the parametric pry bar, right?
Yep.
So these are the different iterations there. That's pretty
Those are
cool.
some scrapped ones.
Yeah. So tell us what else we're looking at here.
So you can kind of see some of Design the Everything's core competency, which is weird stuff in CAD.
Okay.
So we have these parametric pry bars where the customer could choose, the length, width, height, and there's two different options there. I actually still use these pry bars. They worked out pretty well.
Cool.
Then we had these coins, and this one looks like the first iteration. This one looks like the second iteration. Each side of every coin is unique. So it had some algorithmically generated art on there.
Oh, cool.
I think we sold a limited batch of like 50 or something, but every side of every coin was uniquely generated for that coin. And that was kind of the first stage on what we call our maze pattern. This one is untumbled and unfinished. I think the first batch we just tumbled we sandblasted and then tumbled. And that gave us some contrast between the inside and the outside so you could see the pattern better. Mm-hmm. The second version we heat blued, again with some kind of differential between the inside and the outside. But this was basically the second generation of the algorithm. This one we called Pokiyoke, which is... Wait, did we call it Pokiyoke? No, it was wabi-sabi, excuse me.
Nice.
Another Japanese word, but it basically means something along the lines of like mistakes are beautiful or
Cool.
Don't quote me on that. But the inspiration for this pattern, actually this one might have been the inspiration for the pattern. This was a batch one, but the tool broke right there and it left this kind of half completed pattern. And so that was a Gen 1 one. And so for the Gen 2 coins, we replicated that. So we basically adjusted our algorithm to simulate breaking a tool. And it leaves this kind of half-completed pattern that ended up being really cool. So that coin was the inspiration for the second pattern, and you guys can go find the Kickstarter, pull up some product photography
Neat.
to flash on. I'm just giving your editor some work.
Yeah. And then
That led into these, and these again are kind of more in the prototyping stage. Wow, that one's stainless.
These are fun.
So these, I don't remember what we called these. I know kind of internally we referred to them as the fingerprint cubes, but they have this kind of swirl pattern on them. And again, every side of every cube that we made had a different pattern. So the way that worked is, this one was really simple. In Fusion, there's just a spiral toolpath, and you can assign a starting point for that spiral. Fusion would just using the API, it would just randomly move around that point.
That's cool.
So from 0 to 1, 1 over here, it would just choose a different spot for that point. And the results that it came up with were pretty cool little projects.
Were you changing anything else like cusp height or step over or anything like that? Or
Nope, it was just the location.
Yeah, because it looks so unique. I mean, it's, very cool.
So yeah, it's kind of the stuff I enjoy. Like my style of art is kind of the, what can we do that's like makes everything unique? Because that's something that most, Design Everything was a small company, and we're competing against Walmart. So what can we do that Walmart would never do? Right. Well, we can make every single product unique. We can make the pry bars where everyone's different and the customer gets to design it. Walmart or importing from overseas would never do that. So a lot of our products were kind of in that vein. There's some meeples. I don't remember why I made those, but they were fun. I made them in a bunch of different materials. We sold a ton of meeples. We sold hundreds of meeples.
Yeah.
In titanium, brass, aluminum, copper. We took some of the brass ones and put them in a little forge I have and did kind of a hammered pattern on them.
Cool.
Make them look kind of antique. Those were cool.
That's sweet. And then these little orange slices, orange peels or whatever.
That was a very early product that lasted, actually they're still for sale right now. That is what we call a keychain organizer. Basically each little slot there you can put a different key ring on, and it just keeps your keys from getting tangled.
Yeah, super smart.
And then we have these little key rings here. This is another thing that is actually still selling fairly regularly. But it's a titanium key ring. You can call it a flexure or whatever, but it's got a split in it. And it's very secure. It doesn't really pull open.
Right.
This one is a little bit thinner. This was a prototype. The production ones are a little bit thicker. But it's really easy to get keys on and off because normal split rings suck.
Yeah. You gotta have like fingernails or something for that.
Yeah, so these are almost like a tiny carabiner.
That's cool.
Where you can get stuff on and off really easily. So
yeah, because the cross section of it, it's like rigid or whatever in this direction, but in this direction, yes.
Those are one of those products that were designed on a whim to fill just just to solve a quick little problem we had, where we wanted to sell key rings with our carabiners, but we didn't want to have anything made overseas, and so we threw those up. The send, laser cut those. We just tumbled them. And they've been hugely popular for something we put 3 minutes of R&D into. I think we tested them in 3 different thicknesses, and that was it. I don't even think we 3D printed a prototype or anything. Just 3 different thicknesses, sent it to send, tumbled them, and they've, tens of thousands of those have been sold.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Very cool. Awesome. So the last thing, maybe we could go check out the office and wrap this up. We got 3D printer that we were just talking about.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of stuff here in flux.
That's fine. Yeah.
My optical comparator does not have a home at the moment. That'll end up with a home eventually. 3D printer, pretty standard printer at this point, the Bamboo P1S. It's just a workhorse. It just works. I've had several printers over the years. This has been by far the least effort and the most that's just appliance-like. And for doing all of these little shop improvements or whatever, it is a lifesaver. Just being able to hit print, send to it, and not have to worry about it until it's done.
Yeah.
Has been fantastic. I have a filament dryer. Right now there's TPU in there, flexible filament, which has been kind of fun to play with.
Yeah.
I very rarely do multicolor prints, but just being able to swap between colors or making sure you never run out has been nice.
Yeah.
Normally I have at least one roll of orange in there. I'm kind of chewing through some odds and ends that I had picked up. So I have blue and purple. And then this is a fiberglass filled ABS.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So it is almost the same price as PLA, but it's a lot stiffer.
Oh, really?
And it prints pretty easily. So it's like $30 a roll, and it's really, really stiff. That's what the grips on my little camera mount were made out of.
Okay. I like the feel of those too.
Yeah. And for making functional objects, it's not like technically stronger than a normal 3D print in terms of like tensile strength, but it's much more stiff. And it holds threads really well. It's great for fixtures. And it's a lot cheaper than like carbon fiber nylon.
Yeah.
Carbon fiber nylon's like $100 a kilogram or something,
sure,
or maybe
expensive.
$80 now.
Yeah.
But this glass-filled ABS is $30 a kilogram. So I use that all the time. And this is a support material for ABS. I think I have an alarm going off.
Oh, I was like, who's talking to us?
That is a freeze dryer.
A freeze dryer.
So
okay,
my
gotcha.
wife has a fairly extensive garden outside.
Okay, gotcha.
Like an incredibly extensive garden. And so she likes to freeze dry some of her produce so we can save it for longer.
Gotcha.
And it needed like a 20 amp circuit. So it ended up in here.
So it's out in the shop.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. And then the comparator, I'm sure this is extremely helpful for like the tiny
Yes.
stuff that you're working on, right?
Yep. This one I got for super cheap to kind of decide if a comparator worked in my workflow. And I love this thing. It's cheap, but it works. And it's definitely convinced me that I need to buy like a nice Mitutoyo one or something.
Doesn't take up a ton of space.
Yeah.
It
can hide here with
This is fun. So this is a Gridfinity pattern milled into, this feels like steel or stainless or something. And you've created some type of fixture to hold your parts in any orientation, right?
Yep.
Let's take a
So
look
these
at that.
it's basically a fixturing system for the optical comparator, where I have a bunch of these different bins, if you want to call them, little fixtures. And this just kind of slides onto the table here. Doing it Gridfinity was absolutely unnecessary. It was solely because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But what's the point of having a machine shop if you can't make things for fun?
Yeah, no, that's super fun.
And they've actually worked out to be super practical.
Nice.
Having those little lips for orienting parts and the V's for round stuff has been great.
Cool. And then I see over here we've got like a little workbench, and then you've got your office.
So
you have a podcast, which I actually got to be on, which is super fun. You want to talk maybe a little bit about that, and then what you do over here?
Yeah. The podcast is called Taps and Patience. The name comes from a story on like the first week of recording, where I think between Harrison and I, we broke like 20 taps that week. And one of them, actually, I think multiple of them were just because we were being kind of impatient with them. So Taps and Patience, that's where that name comes from.
I like it.
I have a green screen here. This is actually because I've done some video tutorials that I have recorded for other people in Fusion. And the green screen just kind of lets me edit down just my head being in the corner and take up less of the screen.
Yeah.
So it is in the background of every single Taps and Patience episode, but we've never actually used it for the podcast. I don't really use it for YouTube videos, but when I do production for other people, I use that.
So you're doing all of your CAD, CAM work over here, and then that's all synced up to your computers over there.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
So in a perfect world, I'd have a computer by each machine. There is one built into that desk for the Haas. If I'm doing a lot of work, I'll pull my laptop out here next to the Tormach. Eventually, I'll get a computer there, but really, it's not that far to walk to here, so I haven't worried about it too much.
Right.
But having a computer by having a computer by your machine lets you iterate faster.
Oh yeah.
And do work while the machine's running.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But nothing too special about the computer here. Scott from Design the Everything actually built that for me.
Cool.
And just 2 monitors. I did just break my microphone during the last podcast, so I need to Well, the microphone's fine. I broke the microphone stand, so I might machine something to replace that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun project. Cool.
It's tucked away in the corner here because I would get changes in the light coming through the windows, and it would change like the white balance of my camera. So I kind of tucked it into the corner.
Mm-hmm. And you've got, looks like a shipping station over here.
Yep. So first of all, please excuse the random Ethernet cord that is running across the shipping station. We just put in this server. This runs, well, it holds all of the raw video for the YouTube channel and the podcast. It acts as a NAS. There's 30 terabytes worth of drives in here, 2 of which are for storage and the last one's for backup. So we can lose 1 drive and not lose anything. So it acts as our NAS. It also hosts some stuff for Subtract. Some of our website and automations happens from the server. And then also we just installed a new accounting software, and we're hosting that accounting software on here. So it's all run locally. It's not QuickBooks where we need to go to the cloud or whatever.
Yeah.
It's handled from here. And we'll probably add a little bit more infrastructure over time. I'm waiting on a network switch to come in, and eventually this will get moved, and I'll get an enclosure for it. And eventually that'll get moved up there where some of my packaging material is. But that's a fairly new development. Yeah. I have this fun problem right now where I can either plug in my server or my printer. And so every now and then I'll have to text Jacob if it's okay if I can unplug the server for a second to print something. But this is literally just waiting on stuff from Amazon.
You are the switch in this case.
I am the switch.
Yeah. Nice.
This was built as a shipping station. Back when, with Design the Everything, where I was shipping 10 or 20 packages a day, trying to like make space to ship on my desk or whatever was a nightmare, or doing it from a folding table like that.
Yeah.
So the point of this is we have a dedicated shipping station. All of our packaging material is within arm's reach. Bubble wrap over here, all of our boxes. At the time with Design the Everything, we had a little bit more of our like custom packaging material that lived in these bins.
You got like a Gridfinity laser cut over here, yeah.
This was an AJ invention. We call this Shelffinity. It's all designed to be laser cut, so it's much quicker, except for the feet. So it's much quicker to produce than Gridfinity, with just some bins that nest together. And so a lot of our packaging material was in there. There's still kind of remnants of old Design to Everything stuff in here, but we used to have a Kanban system with these bins, where if one was emptied, we would go set it on the laser, and that was the cue for the laser to start production. Nowadays, I don't really use any one box a lot, and so I don't bother with a Kanban system for them.
But these boxes still get used for when you're shipping out parts to customers.
So these now are for shipping to customers.
Yeah.
So, everything from, this box is only used inside other boxes, but, this is honestly what most of my parts ship.
That's your big box, right?
Yeah, this is my most commonly used one. This is the smallest box that you can reliably send via FedEx. Okay. We learned with Design the Everything that if your box is too small, the post office and shipping carriers don't like them. So we got custom boxes that were as small as we could get made, but then they would occasionally get rejected by the post office. Your box has to be at least, I think, 6x4. Otherwise, it gets rejected.
That's good to know.
And I have these boxes which I use for packaging. Like if it's a delicate part, I'll put it in this box and put it in a different box.
Yeah.
But I think I stocked basically everything up to 12-inch by 12-inch, which is a relatively large box.
Yeah, for your parts, it's huge.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, again, bubble wrap here is easily accessible with a knife to cut it. Tons and tons of Sharpies.
All right.
So going back to Tom from Infinite Craftsman, he put together a group buy of not actually Sharpies.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
From overseas. And so you could get like 500 Sharpies for just dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And I think this is all that I have left. But I've been using the Sharpies that I got in that group buy for years.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful that he did that. Hot glue sticks.
Right on.
A laminator, which is great when you're making SOPs and stuff. Oh, there's my there's the shotgun mic, so that fits on top of that camera.
Okay,
thing.
gotcha. Sweet. All right. Well, this might be the conclusion to the shop tour. Thanks for just taking us all around and let us see kind of the in-process stuff. You know, you didn't have to clean up for us. It looks great.
I didn't clean up. It was always this clean.
That's right. Yeah, sorry.
There was definitely not 3 days of scrubbing spent.
Yeah. Maybe you maybe do a plug here because I know you've got a bunch of different names. You Subtract,
Yep.
Audacity Micro, so I'm not going to be able to do it. So let's just end the video with a quick plug, and we'll finish it up.
Yeah, so Subtract Manufacturing, we're a collective of small shops working together. We tend to focus on fast, high-quality parts. A lot of our customers are machine shops who are needing to outsource stuff that they can't make themselves. So if you have parts, there's subtractmanufacturing.com. We'll get you a quote generally within an hour or two. Audacity Micro does not take any outside work beyond Subtract. So we're just kind of a feeder shop on the Subtract network.
Gotcha. Instagram, I mean,
Yep.
where do you want us to follow you?
I'm most active on YouTube, on the Audacity Micro YouTube channel.
Okay.
Our podcast is posted there once a week, and YouTube videos averaging 2 or 3 a month at this point.
Sweet.
One
Awesome.
or 2 a month at this point.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll have to maybe come back in a couple of years and see robots and 5-axis.
That's the goal.
All right. Sweet. See you guys.